How you doing, Dan? This is Ad Chatter again. Numero uno. Last week was the pilot. How you doing?
Yep. Doing good, David. How are you?
Just fine. Surviving this crazy pandemic time, staying in the house a lot. I finally
Yeah.
did go out this morning and got some exercise on the disc golf course. Unfortunately, there was do not enter sign on.
But you entered anyway.
I had to enter. There were people hiking all around me, just not on the course. And I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I get a ticket.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get a ticket, and I didn't get a ticket. Lucy and I exercised. So anyway, there's some personal information for you all. Dan, what are you working on these days?
So I've got a couple of different clients, one of which is a pizza chain that has been madly pivoting to meet the new cleanliness standards and delivery standards and curbside pickup. So that's been occupying my time. Got a couple of other smaller projects, and
For the
trying
pizza
to help.
chain, is it what kind of work? Is it in-store work? What do you do?
Yeah, it's it's digital. Most of it's digital marketing now. It's email, it's social. There's some in-store signage that's trying to keep people out of the store mostly, and to teach them how to do the curbside pickup. And now that Georgia's reopened, we're doing some signage for them to accommodate the new reality of social distancing inside the store. So a lot of interesting challenges and a lot of interesting pivots that this client has had to make. So
Well, you know a little bit about Georgia.
yeah,
Your
but
dog.
used to live there, so it's half my Facebook feed is from there, and so it's been interesting to hear their perspectives on reopening the state or not reopening the state, as it were.
So Dan, if someone wants to put your brain on a job and get your writing talent on their work, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, they can find me at dangoldgeier.com. It's DANGOLDGEIER.com. You can check out my work, and there's a link there to get in touch with me. Happy to talk to anybody who needs some copywriting and some strategy, some content, get them through
Excellent.
the time, or think about what happens after we start reopening.
Excellent. Well, let's look at some commercials, Dan, and then we're going to talk about them. We've got 3 commercials to look at today.
Ooh.
We're going to start with 2 beer commercials. We'll look at Bud UK and what they've done, and we'll talk, and then we'll come back and look at Coors Light. So I'm going to share the screen. We're going to watch this first commercial.
Hello? Yo, what's up? Nothing, B. In quarantine, having a bud. What's up with you?
Nothing. Quarantining, having a bud.
True.
What's up? Yo, who's that?
Yo, you pick up the phone. Hello?
What's that?
Yo, where's Dookie?
Yo, Duke. Yo. What's that?
So you okay, B?
I'm good, B. Just quarantining, having a bud. Thanks for checking in.
Dan, what language were those gentlemen speaking?
They were speaking the language of 1999. If people of a certain age will remember that this was the "was up" spots, and there were a few of them were the biggest thing going in advertising, a big catchphrase, kind of like what Dilly Dilly captured a couple of years ago. So it's a blast from the past if you have a long memory.
Our friend Vinnie Warren is behind this work originally.
Yeah.
Now we're watching Bud UK take that old work, they do own it,
Yeah.
and try to make it relevant for today. Have they done a good job?
It's a fun line at the end, check in on a bud and bud support buds. I think that's a nice way to tie it in. I don't know what equity they still have in this campaign. It's I remember it, of course, because everybody was saying that phrase many, many years ago. It's I think it's an interesting way to bring back an old idea that, you know, maybe there's something in the fact that right now people are looking for comfort and familiar, and the, you know, comfort food, comfort and familiar music. Maybe a comfort familiar commercial might be the answer here. It's just a fun spot for folks who have that kind of, who remember when it was a big deal.
And it's not stock.
No, I guess they brought back some actors, and I'm not sure if those are the same guys who did it originally, but you know, you get, one of the things we've seen is how well people have been able to shoot video in our new age with just phones or small cameras, and edit great things together in such a quick amount of time. It's a testament to the how far the technology's come, is they can pull this off so quickly.
And yet we are looking at quite a few stock images and slideshows. Let's do that now. In fact, I'm going to share the screen again, and we'll look at Coors Light. And here we go.
Fighting a revolutionary war can be sucky. But do you know how George Washington kept his troops motivated? He made sure his men had beer. How about the Great Depression? Turns out that was pretty sucky too. But you know what they did? They called for an end to prohibition. Did it solve anything? Of course not. But it did help them press on. Which brings us to today. Suckiness of historical proportions. Now, we know this won't fix it, but how about some beer? Go to @CoorsLight on Twitter and tell us who could use a six-pack, and we'll buy them one. Because if history's taught us anything, it's that sometimes we could all just use a beer.
Yeah.
Famous actor behind this spot. That voice is Paul Giamatti. I don't know if I said his name right.
Yeah, you said it right. He's a great actor.
He is, and unfortunately, I don't know that that was the proper use of him. The spot, as I just mentioned, uses footage almost as filler. I feel like the first 30 seconds are a waste. What do you feel about this spot? How are you feeling about this?
Well, you know, you have to look at the origin of the spot, and I don't know the full story behind it, but you see that last shot of the older lady holding a sign out the window that said, "I need more beer." This was a news story that came up a few weeks ago. She was in quarantine. She's in her 90s. She held up a sign that said, "I need more beer." And so Coors Light ended up delivering like a pallet of 12 packs to her outside her front door. So it became kind of a fun news story. And I guess they wanted to capitalize on that, talking about, you know, sometimes you just need a beer, and trying to I guess it's working backwards into telling the story. One other thing I'll mention is that the early part of the spot where it talks about George Washington giving his troops beer, I happen to be reading this book at this very moment. It's called, I'm not sure if this is going to be backwards on the video, but it's called Killer High, A History of War in 6 Drugs. And it's all about alcohol, caffeine, tobacco, opium, and how wars have been fought over them and with them. It's fascinating, and there's a huge bit about alcohol and beer through the years and wars. So I thought that was it kind of resonated with me because I'm reading this book. But you're right. There's a lot of leaning on historical footage and trying to cobble together a story. I like the way they, you know, took some of the footage and used some post-production techniques to bring it to life a little more. Some paintings and some photographs and things.
And there is a promotion inside of this commercial.
Yeah, there is.
Where you can get a free 6-pack like the lady that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But again, was that the original idea? Seems like there's 2 or 3 things happening here. And one of the things that's not happening is any sort of explanation about why I want to drink Coors Light right now. The only explanation given is the world is sucky, and excuse me, but the word sucky appears about 10 times in the spot. That's not good for a beer or any food or beverage. in my view, I would have to cancel that if I was involved. We're not
It,
going to say
it, certainly,
something.
it certainly gets your attention. I've never, you know, and it's kind of one of the most honest ways to describe this time, though. It's better than in these turbulent, challenging times.
Sure. But there's something a little cynical, isn't there? Like, hey, the world's falling apart, but we can drink Coors Light and, you know, it might be slightly better. I don't know. I think there might be a better spot from Coors Light. I should say I did work on the brand for several years at the Energy Group, so it's something I'm close to. That doesn't make my criticism right or wrong. It's where I'm coming from. I want to see in most beer commercials something more than lifestyle. Tell me something more than it's cold. That's not descriptive. All beer is cold. Okay, enough on Coors Light. I don't want to beat them up too bad. Let's share the screen again, and I want to talk about one more spot from Etsy. And Etsy is always open.
There are millions of people making incredible things from home, from their garages, from their imaginations, in small towns, in faraway cities, and right next door. People with the skill, the imagination, and the ability to create joy and share it with the world. They're out there, always open, still making. They're on Etsy. Shop Etsy, find joy.
Find joy, Dan.
Yeah. I would like to find more joy in this spot. To be honest with you, there's some gorgeous footage, some great makers making a lot of interesting things. I think that there's just a tone issue here. I want to see more joy. These folks are probably, whether they're their side hustles or their main hustles, selling on Etsy, they're probably doing pretty well right now and having a way to survive some of this pandemic with some great business ideas and some great products. And I want to see some joy. I want to hear more joy in that voiceover. I think this is part of what the advertising industry needs to get over a little bit, is this willingness or this wantingness to make everything an anthem or some sort of a manifesto. I want to hear more excitement in the voice. I want to hear see a little more triumphantness in the spot. It's a great idea, and it's a great brand, and it's certainly helped a lot of people survive this. I'd love to see more joy.
I found a bit of joy just in the sense that I'm not ordering from Amazon.com when I'm ordering from Etsy.com. And seeing the makers and what we have in Etsy is a platform for craftspersons and makers to sell directly via this store. And their sales, their stock are on the rise in a big way right now. Because we're stuck at home and people are ordering things online. In Etsy's case, they do nicely showcase how both the buyer and the maker are connected in the spot. So I like the spot, but I'm always up for more joy, Dan. Great call on that. And that pretty much wraps up our chatter for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoy talking about ads. We hope you enjoy hearing about them. And we will be back next week live from Seattle, Washington, and Austin, Texas. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.